Alright, we're off. And synced. Already getting our crystal info from Gylgamesh. All crystals in the light world today. Alright, dueling Hobo Clips. Plasmasnake is the first in position, but it's taking a little bit of time to line up, maybe get some instruction. Also gets a pesky guard. She seems to have scooted a little bit low in the process. Both of them are having a little bit of trouble with positioning here. Actually, a little unfortunate for Plasma is that she has aggroed that guard in the process. So Gylgamesh is the first one into the bridge. There we go. Plasma's in as well. Also on bombs and rupees. They could go to Kakariko early if they want to, and not be leaving anything behind besides the fetch quests. Not have to farm too much, but Gylgamesh is going straight up the mountain. Not even going through the Lost Woods first. I would probably even skip that bush crab, yeah. I think if you already have a bunch of rupees and bombs, bush crabs lose their value. I didn't even notice that Gylgamesh skipped the lumberjack. Plasmasnake checked it for us, it was just a rupee. Getting back inbounds is the tricky part of this Death Mountain ascent that Gylgamesh is doing. But it's worth knowing because it's the same thing you do to get to Floating Island. Now here we come up on Hera. Hera's a little different in this mode. You're not guaranteed a key for climbing purposes. But we find one anyway. There are only 6 chests in Hera, so a key being placed in one of the first 2, or behind one of the first 2, is a 1 in 3 chance. So it's not too unheard of to see a big key in the front of Hera. It can allow for some interesting logical placements though. Like Meyer Medallion in Swamp. Small key showing up is welcome. A welcome sight. We usually don't like the small key, but in hybrid major glitches we like it because we can spend it in Swamp. Like clipping through a wall in that same room they found it in. Nice flute on Old Man, so both runners will be rewarded for putting off Kakariko Village. The flute is one of the best things you could find before going there because having an active flute is actually its value increases significantly if you get it very early, and even more so if you don't have to make a separate trip to CAC to activate it. If you find it too late, you just don't activate it because it's not worth it. Plasma's having a little bit of trouble surviving on the mountain though. Yeah, you do have to be a little bit careful with having the ability to do a lot of the game without saving and quitting. In a mode where you can hard lock and lose progress. Don't forget that safety saves are a thing, so you can death warp or save and quit even when it's not optimal to, just to make it a little safer. Plasma will be getting her good news. It's fun to see red crystals in the light world, marked on a tracker. Because we have ways into Pyramid Fairy that make the red crystals completely obsolete except for logical tracking purposes, if you know what to do. Plasma not choosing to climb right now. There's plenty of opportunities in the future to climb. And if a hookshot shows up, she'll save tons of time not climbing manually. So Plasma's probably trying to teleport upward here to get into the clouds. You can teleport upward on either side, but this side's a little easier if you know, you don't have to do as many clips to get in the wall. She also had the option of just checking the item, but she would have had to clip across the mountain a different way. If you're already on the top of the mountain, it's a little faster to clip into the clouds and then jump down. Gylgamesh is going to show the other way across the mountain. Save a little time relative to the position he's at. Because he's not already on top of the mountain. It's a little faster to go this way for him. The clip that Plasma's doing here doesn't really save that much time, but it makes this traversal a little bit safer. You're not passing by nearly as many dead rocks. It is fun to see both of them chasing the mountain this early, though. This is probably their last chance to do that because of the sword situation. This is quite a bit safer when you have the starting sword. Although Plasma just found one here, so sometimes you just find a sword and you can play it like it's starting sword. To get to that sword, though, you would have had to survive Spiral Cave with nothing. Early Bottle is another good one to have for Cat. You can turn in Sick Kid while you're there. So now there's no reason to put off Kakariko Village. You can make an argument for fluting away from it before doing Desert. Or even Library, Maze Race. As long as you remember to come back at some point. So Plasma, I can see her walking up line set. She's clearly marking her crystals on her tracker there. It's one of those rando skills that you don't like think about until you're trying to do it yourself. It's really hard to track while playing. Yeah, I did notice Gylgamesh hasn't been quick hopping. Some glitches require it, like the new DMA, Death Mountain Ascent. Not the one Gylgamesh used, though. Maybe that's why he doesn't use it. Quick hopping, for those who don't know, if you have the boots, Link can skip the teeter animation on ledges just by pressing A. You get instant hop. It saves about 20 frames of teetering and gives you a little extra distance, so for some clips actually require it. Thinking about whether those bombs are worth it. I don't know if I would have picked them up, but running out of bombs, it can really take you by surprise and leave you blindsided. Yeah, you definitely don't want to run out of bombs in HMG. There was just a bottle here. But the flute alone makes Mountain Verse worth it in this seed. Regardless of what else we're going to find here. You can make an argument for Hookshot, speeding up Hera. But Plasma skipped Hera. She got the big key and left. I think she wants better equipment from Old Orm. So the two runners have done the same checks, except Gylgamesh has climbed Hera and plasmasnake hasn't. Putting Gylgamesh a little bit ahead. But not by that much. Especially if Hera gets faster for plasmasnake. She's close enough to Zora money that it might have been wise to pick up that red rupee on Zora Ledge. See if Gylgamesh goes after it. Okay, so that's desert. That's all a desert we can do. Gylgamesh is opting to blind check this item here. I don't think it was anything. Just a heart piece. And fluting away. So Desert Palace is... we have the bare minimum equipment for desert right now. Except Gylgamesh appears to have the book, which must have been in Hera. Tempered sword and the flooded chest. Not the flooded chest. The flooded item. The overworld. That's actually a doable sword. You could collect that sword multiple times using a potion, but when you already have two, there's no reason to. Plenty of money here, so both runners will make it to Zora. Plasmasnake already has 500. She's doing dashes too. I think fluting would have been faster here. We're a little trouble with the lever. It's slippery. It's all that swamp water. Hope the sword's not slippery, because you don't want that to fall out of your hands. Bombus Medallion and Cane, both found in the Waterfall Berry. What does that mean for us? With the Moon Pearl, it could be a Mire access. The Cane doesn't do anything in Mire, logically, until you also have the lamp. Which is worth considering, because no fire source at all is a pretty scary situation to be in. Once you have Fire Rod, you can kind of stop thinking about the lamp. And look at this, another Moon Pearl on Zora. It's a good thing both runners put this off long enough to have some money for it. The 300 in Bonk Rocks helped a lot. They could have done some Houlihan farming alongside that 300 and had enough. But they didn't even need to. They just did other checks and got to 500. Moon Pearl is a bit of an overwhelming item to find because you suddenly have the whole Dark World available and have to very quickly think about where you want to go without knowing what your pendants and crystals are. But the first place you always go is this portal here. You check your map and you see that Skullwoods, Mire, and Pod are pendants. Pod is a green pendant in this case. So what does Skullwoods, Mire, and Pod mean? It means that those medallions we have might actually be for Swamp and not for Mire. Even the cane can be for Swamp. There's some funky logic where you're required to have all 3 Mire keys to get into Swamp, if you don't have normal front door access to Swamp. And if a Mire key is on the boss, then Swamp, all of Swamp except for the first chest, is locked behind the cane and the lamp. And it's almost always locked behind the medallion as well. Very rare to see a Swamp that's not locked by Mire's medallion in this mode. It's a 1 in 10 chance to even put the key in the front. And then along that you also have to have the hammer and the mirror available. Oh, mushroom. You could fake powder if you wanted to. I don't know if I would. I'm not a big fan of fake powder in general, and then having... You don't really have great items for magic draining, unless you know how to medallion cancel. So, you're probably gonna just waste a ton of time draining your magic with the cane. Plasmasnake is doing a different Dark World entry. She's going from the bottom up. This is a super jump, where you fall 8 times and land on the bottom of the map. Hey look, simple lips. You could have also solved that problem by not needing the mirror. But The thing is that the mirror can be inaccessible. So it's very important. The good thing is we have mentors, right? And to do swamp without a mirror, it's pretty complicated to learn within like a week, you know? So having somebody who can just like tell you what to do is really nice. Facing it in a race where you're doing it on your own can be quite scary. So huge props to anybody who just joins in these races and plays before getting the mentor experience. I think the first race we had of this mode was just everybody figuring out how to do swamp. Because nobody knew it. Nobody knew what they were doing when hybrid major glitches was invented. Like, technically the logic existed before with major glitches, but nobody played it. So there was no meta, there was no guide telling you how to do swamp. You just had to, like, know the different parts and how the game works and figure it out on your own. Preserving the dam drain state is so non-intuitive, it wasn't even discovered until like a few years ago. It was discovered by accident by Balyame. You kind of just assume something like that would get reset by a save and quit and don't question it. So to find out that it's preserved by just routing in a specific way was pretty mind-boggling when it was found. And that's why we have guides now, because nobody's going to figure it out on their own. If it took the entire community that much time to figure it out, nobody's going to figure it out just from playing. And we see a lamp in Mire Shed for Plasmasnake. So that's the Mire package, although I wasn't looking at the medallion. And she hasn't marked it on her tracker. If she hasn't marked the Mire medallion on her tracker, it makes me think she has it. Nice job, Gylgamesh, remembering that you need to kill the enemies to go around. You don't have a glove. Hookshot on the dig game for plasma. So finding a lot of really good stuff on the way up, but it's all stuff that Gylgamesh is going to get on the way down. So it's not going to make a huge difference in the race. None of the stuff that Plasma has found is going to be relevant in the Village of Outcasts, Thieves Town, Skullwoods checks. Now, if she had found Hammer, it would have been a different story. These 2 up teleports get you up to the village, making this route possible. And the hammer for Thieves Town ended up not mattering. There's nothing in the big chest, it's just the key. Now, the hardest part of Gloveless Thieves Town is also remembering it's gloveless on the way back, when you're not already opening the big chest. Also, I'm told it's faster to mirror in that situation if you have a mirror. Something interesting about Plasma's route versus Gylgamesh's is that Plasma's going to have a little bit more incentive to dip Skullwoods. Because it's not quite as out of the way as it would be for Gylgamesh. Because she can go into Skullwoods and save and quit from inside Skull. Whereas Gylgamesh would have to have backtracked out to continue the Dark World route. I failed to mention the ice rod that was found in Thieves. But that is one of the more obnoxious items to look for. I would actually say the hammer is the one that we have to be worried about now, because the hammer can be in all sorts of nasty locations, including swamp. There's a really fun logic situation where you might be expected to climb here normally just to flood the middle of swamp, so you can enter swamp normally. That comes up when you don't have mire access, but you do have Hera access. I'm going to try to pay a little bit of attention to Gylgamesh's mire medallion check. Because if it's Quake, that makes the seed very interesting. So it is Ether, so they do have it. Ether was on Sick Kid. It wasn't something that was going to be missed in the seed, given the bottle was in village. It was in the village and on the mountain. Pretty much impossible to not check that. I think both runners will be treating that as a logical curiosity. And hope that they don't actually have to go inside mire. Because it's a pendant. It's a full clearable pendant, but it's still a pendant. Gylgamesh is getting some instruction on how to leave this area safely. There's a lot of places to leave this area that aren't safe. You can land in the trees, you can hit a hard lock transition, so it's always good to get some instruction on that before doing anything. If you don't have a mentor with you, you can also look at the map. And just look at where the transitions are and what's on the other side of them. Gylgamesh will probably end here. Trying to think of how he would get over to anywhere from here. If he knows the... Yeah, there's a clip over the river you can do that gets past the hammer bags, but I think he doesn't... Either doesn't want to learn that on the fly or just doesn't want to do it. Though Gylgamesh hasn't actually been to desert yet. We'll be cleaning up some checks that Plasmasnake did earlier. He has the lamp, so he can do desert in its entirety, but has to do Lammo last to make sure he doesn't softlock inside and miss out on checks. Plasma also didn't get the book, so she will be able to check that when she does Landmo. Sometimes it's better to orphan more things when you're here than to orphan just one thing. Like if you leave behind only the book, but you've already done Landmo, you're never going to come back for that. But Plasmasnake will come back for it, because it's a crystal that she hasn't done yet, and it's got checks nearby. She'll probably wait until she has more stuff, like the glove. A bit of a standoff with the thief there. Flute does make it easier, it's true. Bombo's Tablet's a quick flute check. You can clip on both sides of that hill. Plasmasnake looks like she is going into Skullwoods as predicted. This could be a big swinger in the race. Or it could be just a small amount of time lost for her. Oh, unlucky. Nope, no glove, Gylgamesh. You want to do that last. So he's getting instruction, but I'm not sure if he's being told to do it last or if he's being told how to do it now. Maybe he's already done Bombo's Tablet. I don't think he's done Agina, though. It might be better to do this now and then flute out, actually. Maybe that's what they're discussing, is how the flute comes into play here. Floating to 6 again is probably faster than walking out of Akina's cave. You usually want to avoid walking out. Plasma found a heart piece here. I don't think she found anything else. She seems to have found 2 keys, judging by where she is in the key counter now. And she definitely didn't find item 2 because she is continuing on this course. And just gets a 3rd key here, so the item is in the back. That was an interesting, I swear I saw one of the Landmo pieces like teleport to the ice rod sparkle. Which is something I've seen from the silver arrows. There must be a sparkle effect. Just a shield, so Plasma won't be punished by putting this off. May even be rewarded by being able to do other checks. She recognizes that that clip didn't work. She's trying to go to Graveyard Ledge. There's a lot of checks I can do that are almost good. Like, Hookshot Cave is almost good. You can do all the inside, no hovering, but you do have to clip to get in. Clip, even if you're comfortable with the clip, it's still very slow to bomb your way through the back. You have to bomb twice. Plasmasnake has a good idea here because she has the hookshot. She can do Tomb Raider, which she seems to be pretty familiar with. Yeah, she seems to know what she's doing. These are Sphere 1 checks. Not a bad idea to clean those up. But it's just a red rupee. I would say Hera would be a good play for her as well, just because she has the hookshot and tempered. It's not going to get faster. She'll probably do it on the way to Hookshot Cave. Or whatever her next mountain portal play is. Yeah, and she does have the advantage of this hookshot. Saving time putting this off. Except getting absolutely bullied. She's trying to defend herself against the Kadango, but doesn't have the ability to use the sword with spin speed out. Though Gylgamesh is walking out of here. I wonder where he's going. Maybe it's faster to walk out and flute than to save and quit. Or he did this before Balmo's Tablet. And there's the book for Plasmasnake, which I knew it had to be here. Oh no! You gotta time the spark. Thankfully it only drops you here in the middle. Gylgamesh has done a lot without saving, but he doesn't have the mirror. So he did save after Dark World. I don't think he's found anything here. He could actually hardlock and be okay. He would have to do Lammo again, but that would be it. It can pay to remember where you got items. Recovering from a hard lock if you know where your items were isn't nearly as bad as when you have to VOD dive to find them. I have not paid attention to whether both items were found in Hera. It looks like both the map and compass were found, so there is an item in the basement. Plasma has to be very careful how she spends that key. If she spends it on the basement, it's fine. That's what the logic expects you to do. If she spends it on Swamp, she's still fine because she can come in from Mire and fix the key issue by unlocking it from Mire if she has to. So it's still pretty safe. Now we're getting something really spicy from her. She's actually taking this diagonal wall. This is her first hybrid clip. Her first underworld clip. Which is not even one that's in logic. But it gets you to Dark Cross a little faster. Meanwhile, Gylgamesh finds the bow in Super Bunny Cave. Plasma can do something interesting here, and she could actually go all the way to the back of Escape. This is another place where spending the key is a little risky, though. She hasn't done the front of Escape yet and doesn't know where the Hyrule Castle Small is. So if she were to spend this key now, she would get the back of Escape items out of logic, but she wouldn't necessarily be able to get the key back into Hera. So she's not going to spend it. Now if you do the front of Escape first and don't find a key, you can safely spend this key because you can be certain that you'll get it back from the chests that are in the back of Escape. Because you know it's there. So you get refunded your key. It's a nice little trick that usually doesn't matter. Like, going out of logic is usually still slower than staying in logic, but it can give you an advantage. Hopefully Plasma also goes to East Death Mountain to get that bow. And the hammer in Hookshot Cave. So we're still looking for a couple things. But I think it's just Fire Rod, Glove, and Flippers that are needed in this seed. You can skip the mirror. The bow and hammer is kind of weird because it puts Pod in logic. Dependent. I don't think Gylgamesh should be teleporting on the 4th bump here. Okay, so it's interesting that he's even opting to do this at all. Unlocking the front of Turtle Rock. Every time I see somebody open from the front of TR, they always have some genius route, like walk out of TR and go to Pod, or walk out of TR and go to Skull. So I'm always interested to see what they end up doing with it. They might just want to dip into TR and have a way out so they can continue the route to Catfish. I don't know, he's just going in now. So he'll be checking Compass Room and walking out if he doesn't find a key. You don't want to Death Warp out because you'll lose your Dark World status. Yeah, you could potentially save time. If you're in the area and you have the mirror, you can get out easily. You can maybe save time if the big key is here. But you lose time if it's not. So Gylgamesh just saves and quits out of TR. I'm not sure why he chose to do that instead of Catfish. It might be because doing Catfish puts you close to Pod and makes you have to make awful decisions, and he just wants to do Eastern. Hasn't even done Sahas yet. Or the Mushroom Turn-In. So catfish can still be done later with... Oh no, we don't do catfish into pod anymore. Ha! This is hybrid major glitches. You can just do catfish and save and quit out. This is not how we get to pod anymore. Glad to see nobody has been punished by putting this Sphere 1 location off. And the catfish having the ultimate insult for plasmasnake. You can't call it a scam though, because it is free. It's a free sample. I don't like this song. We're gonna be musicless for a little bit. Plasmasnake is taking the overall glitches route to pod, while Gylgamesh is going to Eastern. The overall glitches route to pod is still viable. It's a little bit messier in the key routing. When you have access to Cave State pod, you can open a door for free, and it makes the rest of pod a dream to route, especially when you don't have mirror. But if you're this close to it, you might just want to go in. Oh, come on. There we go. That's better. Another location that's looking hot right now is Ganon's Tower. Problem with Ganon's Tower is it's very easy to leave something behind that's fire rod locked if you're not willing to do the bomb jumps to the right side. But if you are willing, then you can go and clear the whole thing. Plasma just getting loaded with small keys in the front pod. And the big key. And the big key for Gylgamesh in Eastern. But neither of them finding anything yet. That's worth noting. The difference is that Gylgamesh is going to get a crystal out of this. And plasmasnake will be doing these checks. Especially because of the vanilla big key. This is not a go-modable Eastern. Ooh, plasmasnake is going straight to Helmasaur here. That's an interesting decision, given it's a pendant, but it's green pendant, and Gylgamesh has done Saw's Closet. Plasma has not, so she's gonna have an extra check when she goes there. I like this play. Pod before Eastern is bold when it's a pendant, but when it's green pendant, it makes a lot of sense. If you think you're going to end up doing both anyway, this is the faster way to do it. And then bonus points if the mirror shows up here. You can just mirror to Eastern. Where is Gylgamesh going? This looks like Graveyard Legend King's tomb, which we saw from Plasma. Didn't lead to anything. Doesn't give the inputs though. Almost looks like maybe he held up too soon. Or it went up left into left instead of up left into up. And got kicked out to the right. Oh, I guess the input wrong again. I think this is just mixing up left into up. Because it was wrong in the same way twice. The plasma does get an item, but it's just a heart container. Which means if you are full clearing this dungeon, you're not gambling the boss. Oh, you will end up doing the boss, so doing it first is a little faster. This gets her a free warp out of the dungeon too. Alright, Gylgamesh will need some review. Hopefully his mentor Breadcoon will be able to tell him, be able to diagnose what's going wrong here. I don't see an input display, so it's a little harder to diagnose when you don't have that. Alright. That looks good. Plasmasnake, it's funny because she could have hammer jumped and locked herself in the maze by accident. She's smart enough not to do so. This is a consequence of riding Helma first. You can spend all your keys and be forced to get the keys out of here to not lock yourself in the maze. And the fire rod is in the back of Pendant Pod, so this is paying off hugely for her. Now she can safely go to GT and clear the whole thing. Now Gylgamesh getting some instruction on how to do Tomb Raider. Is in-emulator input display allowed in races? It is allowed. I have mine on. When they say nothing covering the gameplay, they mean so you can't see it. Like, I don't know. One time we raided a stream that had a raid message that covered that lasted like 20 seconds. That would have made it invalid because it's like 20 seconds of gameplay lost and it covered the entire screen. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about like a little bit of text here and there. Some people put their live split on top of the screen too. That's just a stylistic choice. Oh yeah, this is a vodcast. For those who don't know, this race happened today. A few hours ago. I don't know the results of the race. Gylgamesh does. So sit back and enjoy the show. But Gylgamesh is going to GT. Oh my gosh, Plasmasnake just turned in the mushroom that both runners have had forever. And it had the flippers on it. So she is now in Glove Go mode, which is an interesting Go mode to be in, because there are two of them. But every time I've been in Glove Go mode, it's been terrible. There's always like one in ice and one in checkerboard. It's never nice. And she'll be full clearing Eastern now, which makes tons of sense. She's not going to get anything out of it but the crystal, but she will have the opportunity to turn in the green pendant she got from Helmasaur. So I think the real, wild card here is both runners are new to the mode. Hybrid Major Glitches does require some mental gymnastics to get through Swamp Palace and some physical gymnastics. It's going to be a little easier with the mentor to tell you what to do, but it's still complicated. And we haven't seen the mirror yet, so we might be doing mirrorless swamp. We're almost certainly doing some kind of unlocking from the inside out, because there's only a 1 in 10 chance that the Smolky even gets placed in the front of swamp. But Gylgamesh finds powder. Hopefully finding powder will incentivize him to turn in the mushroom, because A, he won't be worried about fake powder, and B, he'll already be thinking about fluting to fetch quest locations to turn them in. Those are both very quick turn-ins. Once you're done with the nice crystal dungeons, you can really clean those up. You don't want to put them off too long. So keep an eye out on Gylgamesh's side. If he finds a glove here, that's actually really bad for him, because Plasmasnake will find it too. GT is one of the low-hanging fruits on her side. And Gylgamesh really doesn't want the glove to be in a low-hanging fruit location. He's going to want it to be somewhere nasty. Somewhere that Plasmasnake's not going to go, with the flippers and the fire rod that she has. One thing that could happen, though, is back of Skull. Once Gylgamesh does get his fire rod, as he hasn't been to Skull at all, but Plasmasnake has been and gotten 1 item out of it. So going to the back might be harder for her than for Gylgamesh. Oh, dueling Armos fights, let's go! Plasma gets a little off script on this one. Gylgamesh also doesn't look like he's going for a quick kill at all. So he'll be dealing with the red Armos. And there is a glove here, so it's kind of bad news for him. He doesn't know it yet, though. He's probably happy to see it. The glove opens up very little for him right now. Ice Palace is not in logic without the flippers or the mitts. Checkerboard Cave's pretty orphaned. He's already done everything else in the desert. And Plasmasnake will never have to think about Checkerboard unless she needs the mirror for Swamp, because she is going to be in go mode with that glove. So now it's a big race between, you know, Plasmasnake has a lot of things she could do right now that aren't GT. It's just because GT is low-hanging fruit doesn't mean she's going to do it next. She has other things she can do that are also good. Like Turtle Rock, Desert Palace, lots of stuff. Doing GT last is desirable. Once you start in that 1 item from Go mode and it's the glove, you can start thinking about, like, maybe I just Go mode GT. Go mode GT can be very good. But that would be bad for her because she would miss out on the easy glove and would have to find potentially a harder glove. She could end up full clearing Swamp as well. And that would be very slow. Gilgamesh climbing GT, plasmasnake going to Landmo. Choosing to do this last so she can save and quit her flute out. That was a nice Ice Rod Gauntlet 5 for Gil. Oh, now we're all going to watch the Moldorm fight. Everybody watch Gilgamesh's Moldorm fight. And Plasmasnake's Landmo fight at the same time. Not quite the same time. But pretty close to it. If they're fighting at the same time, then something has gone horribly wrong for Plasma. I really like the colors that Landmo flashes on her side. Landmo is one of the ones that's really heavily affected by the sprite. It looks electric. Nice job, Gil, remembering he doesn't have a fire rod. That's almost as hard as remembering you don't have a glove for Thieves Town. Plasma could be going really any number of places here, because this is her entry into the Dark World. This is kind of looking like TR. You don't do this hair clip to do GT. Yeah, you can lamp over that edge. It's a little finicky, but it definitely works. If you don't want to do that, you can light that one first. But the optimal way does it last. Oh, we are going to GT. Well, this is really good for Plasma then. She's going to get her Go mode here. And then she'll have to start untangling Swamp. Gilgamesh will have to make a decision though, because he is actually out of locations that are good. Or at least that are better than what Plasma has done to find Go mode. So it's not over for him. He's pretty heavily, inclined to do Pod over, for example, part of Turtle Rock that he's already done. Like, you wouldn't go into Turtle Rock now having already done the front. And he's not even able to do Swamp. Ice is out of logic. Mire is in logic, but it's only 2 items. If you're going to do a pendant, you do Pod. Alright, we're walking out. We got Pyramid Ledge. Hasn't been looked at yet. This looks like a pod play for Gil. So both of them will be taking... Oh no, this is Hammer Pegs. Getting some instruction on how to clip into the squatter here. Yeah, you can boots clip or hook speed clip. It's good to know the boots clips, because you don't always have a sword or hook shot. Unfortunately, this is not pod. We know that this isn't going to be fire rod or flippers. Gilgamesh could find Mirror, making Swamp easier. Saving or quitting out of here is a good sign that he's not doing his goal. Sanctuary. Back of escape. I remember earlier I was speculating on whether Plasma would do back of escape out of logic, and now it's pretty clear that that would not have been good for her because she ended up in glove go mode. But you couldn't have known that at the time. And that is go mode for plasmasnake. Walking out, because it's the only way to get to the climb. Now for her, it's just a matter of puzzling out Swamp and doing the remaining crystals. But Gylgamesh is going to pod, and that's a really good sign for him. Back on track for him. Now he can find the fire rod and never get around to doing the mushroom turn-in. That one's a bit of a wild card. Because mushroom turn-in isn't something you route in, it's just something you do. Every time you save and quit, you have to think about whether you want to do those or not. Finding the fire rod might give him reason not to. He might full clear TR, he might even go to Skullwoods before doing that. Just lucky for him that he won't find logical access to Ice Palace. His logical access to Ice Palace will probably be the flippers. And therefore his go mode. And if he has the back first and finds the fire rod, he might leave behind Helmasaur. And decide it's not worth it. Alright, while we are retracing steps, let's give a shout out to our runners. Make sure you give them a follow. We've got 2 more of these Swiss races ahead of them, and there will be a double bracket, that is 2 parallel brackets running hybrid major glitches in a single elimination best of 3 series. These will be unmentored races. There's that electric Lando again for Plasma. It's quite the sight. Let's see how hard she go modes the top of GT. You'll sometimes see people do checks for the silver arrows. Wouldn't expect her to do that, but I could see her doing checks for the mirror. Because a mirror could be a significant enough speed item to be worth doing on the way checks. Looks like we are getting both chests. She gets blue mail. Blue mail is nice. Not a bad safety to get from a go mode check. I hadn't noticed that the shovel was found in pod. Maybe that will put Gylgamesh in mind of doing fetch quests and remind him that he has a mushroom to turn in. Or maybe that'll just make him want to do them less. Because it's like, well, if I'm turning that in, I gotta turn in my other ones too, right? On the other hand, you go to the pendant pod and you find a fetch quest and you find nothing else. You feel obligated to check it. But you go here and you find a fetch quest and you also find the fire rod. You don't really have to do that anymore. You can just leave that shovel behind. Now he is walking out, which does indicate... Ooh! Ooh, I like this. Alright, we're skipping Helmasaur. Just a reminder, Helmasaur did have an item and a green pendant, so Gylgamesh is gambling 2 items on the boss. But it is quite a slow check. I don't know if he meant to do that. That's the other way to get to pod. But he's already been there. If he wanted to do pod, he would have already done so. There we go. Yeah. Just a little pointer is you'll always get that yeet if you go off the stairs with spin speed. And do like a smooth movement. So if you're trying to do the yeet, then that's a good, safe way to do it. It's a little slower, but it will always work. But if you're trying to hair clip, you're better off not getting spin speed at all and just getting the spin speed state. So let's do a little bit of a tally here. Gylgamesh is about to full clear pod, or TR, which makes sense. It's a crystal. Now, I'll probably be going in through the middle because of lack of mirror. There is a way to get in without the mirror, but the mirror is makes it easier. He's also already opened the front, so it's maybe worth going in here. It's hard with this. Not having the mirror here also makes this rather slow. You can't always go front to back from this direction. He already knows the first one wasn't a key. You might not have enough keys to do the whole route. You might have to leave and come back in through the middle. It's also interesting to see Plasma making the same decision to use this portal so she can open the front of Turtle Rock. So the big key is here, and the small key. It might have been faster to do this first, if you did have the fire out at the time. And then clip to the middle and the back, if you have the mirror. But if you don't have the mirror, you might want to do what Gylgamesh is doing and see if you can move forward instead. And just do Turtle Rock normally. Oh, okay, so Gylgamesh is locked out. This is, you know, glitch mode TR doesn't always let you do it from the front. So he has to go into the middle and get enough keys for the back. He also has the option to do the mirrorless clip, if he knows it, to get straight to the back and hope that a key is there on Laser Bridge. He is forced to walk out, though, because if you Death Warp, you lose your Dark World status. And then your next transition takes you to the Light World. And the Light World is not going to get you to TR. And Plasma is going to run into the same issue here. She's actually Death Warping. Maybe when she transitions, she can transition back over again and re-enter the portal. The difference is Gylgamesh doesn't actually have a portal there. He'd have to make it. Gil is, interestingly enough, stealing the Poke Key to make sure he can get to the back. Or not even, just doing the whole dungeon. You can do the middle after Trinex. So he can do Trinex now and then walk out the front, clip back into the middle and do the big, not the big chest, but the big key chest. Or maybe he just knows it's a key. He might just know it's a key. I think he probably knows now. He knows now that whether it's a key or not. Pardon me for not being too familiar with key logic. Yeah, that screen with the tile set is pretty cool. I love the pink and blue clouds. Gylgamesh can also just gamble. Maybe he knows it's a key. Maybe he doesn't and just doesn't want to do it. Also, still missing map and compass makes this likely to be... Oh yeah, if that's definitely a key, then map and compass are in Trinex and big key chest. So there you go, you get to skip it. I think he was even thinking about skipping that key, but wanted to make sure it actually was a key. That's some good item counting right there. He didn't feel like doing it. Fair enough. Plasma's not going to do it because she's in go mode. So she's already catching up on the dungeon counter. Now they're not that far apart if Gylgamesh just does the mushroom turn-in soon. Because they're even up on crystals. Gylgamesh a little bit ahead in the actual fight here. Looking at what's remaining for Gylgamesh, it is actually working pretty heavily in his favor that the remaining stuff is not very good or in logic. Catfish is an obvious thing to do after TR, and also, you know, it was good that that the fire rod wasn't here, because this was the best time to do Catfish if you were entering TR and not doing Catfish after Hookshot Cave. What is this? This looks like a Dark World play. Oh, no, we're fluting. Fluting is good. That's what we want to see. We're going to 2. Let's go. Well, this is extremely close now. So plasmasnake is starting the process of swamp, it looks like. She also might be going to ice. I think if I was her... Okay, so, like, it's hard. Depending on... This is where you start to play to your strengths, right? If your strength is, you know, you're really good at the flipper wrap, you just do ice first. Because swamp is new and scary, and if you find the mirror, it gets a lot easier. If you're good at doing HMG swamp, and the flipper wrap sucks, you can go into swamp and open a few on-the-way checks and hope that a mirror or a glove shows up. It's not too surprising to see the overall glitches choice pay out for both, I'm gonna assume both runners, because you don't go to the Dark World to do swamp here. You actually go into the Light World and flood the dam and save and quit. Now we got dueling flipper wraps. Plasmasnake being the first to the second phase of the clip. Just a hair ahead of Gil here. This is anybody's game now for the entire rest of the seed. And because of how complex Swamp is, the time difference now is not really reflective necessarily of what's going to happen, because Swamp can go anyway. There's going to be a new clip they can do here in Ice Palace. It's like Plasmasnake is opting not to do it. It doesn't save that much time. Okay, so Gylgamesh now into the second phase of this. I kind of lost him there. I wasn't sure where he was. But he just has to do the clip again. If he does the lobby clip in Ice, he could gain a little bit of time on Snake. Now, one benefit of lobby clip is you don't have to backtrack to the switch because you've already been to it. You actually pass through this room to get to Icebreaker when doing the lobby clip. So far, so good for Gil. Just hold down here. There we go. Keep holding down. Once you've held down and transitioned, you're safe and can move freely. Plasma opens a chest there. That chest is... I'm a fan of opening that. It can be a small key and probably faster than lifting this rock. Plasma is either forgetting or gambling that a small key that's required shows up here. It looks like she's gambling. She seems to be aware of her need for a small key. I'll go back and pick that up. Gil could save a little time by picking that up on the way instead. The other reason I like opening that big key chest is because it could have the mirror, and the mirror speeds up Swamp a little bit. If you have the mirror, you still have to do Inside Out Swamp, unless you want to take a 1 in 10 chance. But you don't have to do the dam prep. You can just go straight from Hera, walk out the door, and then mirror and do the dam. Gil just skipping it entirely. We'll save time there if he opens this rock on the way up. Now, if he was trying to gamble chest, he would have opened the chest, so he's going to do the rock. This is a pretty fixed amount of time. Not sure why he's opening that. It looks like he got reminded he doesn't need it. If you're going to open any chest, you're going to open this one here. It's on the way. Plasma having a bit of a party with Cold Stare, but it's keeping safe, not getting hit too much, or at all. And is the first one out of ice. Now, just one more hurdle to go. The Swamp Palace, the big boss of HMG. Plasma seems to be doing it correctly by going to the Light World first. I think fleeting to 7's a little faster. Looks like she's being told that as well. Now, the important thing here is that you don't try and flute to 1 after. The flute does break the flooded state. The save and quit does not. We probably would have noticed it sooner if flute preserved it. But apparently the game counts the flute as an overworld transition. So saving and quitting right after you see the dam flood. Once you see water in there, you can just hold select, and then you get a first frame save and quit menu. Now there are no screen transitions here in the overworld, only in Tahara. So that's... You could even softlock here and save and quit and still have your dam. Gylgamesh also starting the process by flooding the dam. Not the right one to fish. Probably, maybe, I think probably what happened is people are used to having mirror in here when they're doing swamp. So he might have even been mashing Y. I can't hear it, but maybe, I like to imagine that's what he was doing. Tooting the flute at the block, trying to make it disappear. Now, clearing the screen of those two specific enemies is generally a good idea. The Kadongo at the top could walk over and fire downward and get in your way. The Moldorm is even worse and can just ruin your day entirely. Now this, I think the speed that the runners do this clip might actually determine this race. You see that Gylgamesh is using a bomb method here. It might be that that's just what he likes to do, but it also might be that using the spin speed method is risky when you want to hold on to this key. So if you spend that key by accident, you gotta do it from Mire, or you gotta hard reset and start over. Gylgamesh already catching up to Plasmasnake, so if he gets this first try, he will be in the lead. This looks like a bomb version of the setup. And this looks good. Nope, it wasn't good. I haven't done the bomb setup long enough to actually know. So it's not over for Plasmasnake yet. Lots of people are just now like learning how to select buffer, which is probably like the hardest part of learning glitch modes. Learning how to change your grip for clipping and for select buffering is kind of an alien concept. Most people only do grip changes for small things like spin speed, and Plasma is in, so first person into swamp is Plasma. Gil is manually lining up this bomb. If you're using a bonk method, you want to keep that pot down. Oh no, doesn't get it. The upside to Plasma's method is it doesn't consume bombs, so you don't have to worry about running out. So Plasmasnake did have a bit of a lead coming out of ice, and maintained the lead through both runners having a little bit of trouble with this clip, about equal amounts so far. Alright, another shot at the teleport. This one's a teleport. So you have to buffer up a certain number of frames after bombing in to get on the right pixel. That looks like it's too far out. It's not going to work. Not even opening Curiosity Chest. Don't you want to know if it's a key? I guess you don't need to, because when you don't have the mirror, it doesn't matter. You're not getting in that way anyway. Oh, it's so hard to do this in the heat of a race. Gil has 2 bombs left. At this point, it's pretty hard for him to catch up, because Plasmasnake just has to do Argus and Ganon. So barring Ganon death, this is her game to lose. But Gylgamesh is in now, with 1 bomb to spare. You don't have to bomb, you don't have to hammer all 3 of these. You can actually just hold left or right. In this case, you would hold right. Do the floodgate, and then hammer the bottom one to get out. Plasmasnake exposes a chest and leaves it behind. Says, nope, nope, nope. I don't actually want it. Just getting that out of habit. Maybe even Obscure saying you don't really need that. The only thing it could really be that would speed her up now is silver arrows or gold sword. So if you missed it before on Plasma's side, the whole point of this trip is to open this door here. Very important you open the door. And the point of flooding the dam is that it stays flooded and you can swim out and back in again. You would be able to exit, but you wouldn't be able to re-enter without the mirror if you didn't do that. Nice fire rod kill for Plasma. So now she is about one go mode swamp ahead of Gylgamesh. And it all came down to that, you know, Plasma being in go mode a little earlier and how quickly they were able to clip into Swamp from Hera. Plasma getting fake Dark World here, it's kind of unavoidable. I think yeah, she's floating to 5, but I think you just go to the portal here if you're gonna end up there. The fastest thing to do is probably to just walk out and use the portal. The only way to actually fix the fake world would be to mirror, and they don't have that option. We'll see if Gylgamesh and or Breadcoon, his mentor, is aware of that as well. Because he could save a little time going to the portal at Link's house. Probably won't be enough, though. Oh, Ganon also flashes electric blue for Plasma. Nice. So it looks like Gylgamesh was aware of the fake world and transitioned that way to flute to 5. Because if he was just trying to go to Ganon, he would have gone up. I still think it's better to go up, but I haven't timed it. Looks like there's just enough time for them to be in Ganon together, making this officially a close race. But we knew that already. So provided Plasma doesn't fall here, she will take this one. As Gylgamesh does get the setup for the 1-in-1, which Plasma didn't do, so this will be a time gain for him. Gets the 1-in-1. But plasmasnake is well into phase 4 and has gotten her last hit on Ganon. So put your GGs in chat for past Plasma, who is not here with us right now. Probably asleep. But Gylgamesh is, and we'll be giving him GGs soon as well. When you get blue Ganon like that, you can only get one hit in. I don't think it's ever possible to get two. Yeah, this was a very close race. I hope to see more close races like that as we get into Swiss weeks 5 and 6. Because Swiss does sort runners based on their record. But it's hard to gauge skill in a mode that people are actively learning. Especially when the mode changes from week to week. But I'm glad to see a race where Swamp was actually done. HMG with Pendant Swamp is always a little disappointing. You're here to learn how to do the thing that makes the mode special. If we wanted an overall glitches week 4, we would have had one. But that is it for Gylgamesh. Just a minute and a half behind plasmasnake going through the Triforce room. At around 1:30, 2:10. Keep an eye out for mitts. Oh, are they unped? This is not a seed where you wanted to find mitts. Yeah, there it is. That wasn't even hard to get. But at the same time, like, you pretty much have to just never turn in the mushroom for that to be your go mode. Or rather, for you to have access to ice before you're in go mode. All in all, this is a pretty nice seed other than I would say the Moon Pearl location. Moon Pearl and Zora is kind of gross. Then Pendant Pod having the Fire Rod is not very nice either. I do believe that the mushroom is on the way though. It was somewhere in the Dark World loop. So it was just a matter of remembering to turn it in. With the flute, you pretty much always had if you did Mountain before Kakariko, even if you just did the Old Man. Now next week we'll be taking away the sword, but it'll still be the same mode. Hybrid major glitches, more of that swamp shenanigans. May or may not be doing another vodcast tonight. It would be Vortex of Doom versus Rob J. Beasley. That happened at around the same time these two were racing. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for posts in Go Mode Podcast Discord for vodcasts just like this. And if you want to get involved, let me know.